Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I don't think Anna's seen the mug that I got in Greece last year. Check this out.
No. Oh, that's cool.
It's the beautiful temple to Poseidon, which is just down the coast from Athens. And of course, when you go there, you have to get the mug.
Very cool. I like it.
Yes. If you're brand new here to the Stacking Benjamin Show, the reason why we show off the mugs is because we begin every Monday with a salute to our troops who have been working triple time lately to make sure that we are all safe. So everybody raise your mugs on behalf of the men and women making podcasts in Mom's Basement and the men and women around the world. Stacking Benjamins. Here's to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now let's all go stack some Benjamins together, shall we?
Hey, shake and bake, Cal. Woo! Shake and bake.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today the star of the show is you. That's right, CFP Anna Allem joins us for an extended visit again to help OG and Joe answer your questions. On the docket today, what is a Trump account and does it beat money in an UTMA account? And heck, what is an UTMA account anyways? And how do we accumulate money for a home down payment? Plus, OG and Anna will work a little overtime to keep teaching you more money basics. Today, they'll cover taxes. How do you pay less to the man and keep a great financial plan intact? You'll know by the time we're finished. And of course, no need to fret because I'm here and everything will be all right in the world because yours truly is ready to step up and share another helping of my world famous trivia. And now, 3 people who I'm fairly certain are only at the mics to avoid dish duty upstairs. It's Joe, OG, and Anna Allem.
We definitely heard Mom getting busy upstairs with the dishes. Time to record a podcast, everyone. Hey, welcome back to another week of the Stacking Benjamin Show. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, and I'm super happy to have these 2 people with me at the mic. First, the man with the plan, Mr. OG, is here. How are you, brother?
Happy to be here. Today is, isn't today Arbor Day?
February 20th or April 20th?
Yes, February 20th. My God, Joe. Please let us get through the winter months. We don't have to go back to them.
Is it April already?
Wait, is it Earth Day? Or
Arbor
Arbor Day?
What did I say? Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
Earth Day, Arbor Day.
Well, Earth Day would include Arbor, wouldn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's trees and everything else.
Oh, Earth
too.
Day is the 22nd. I was thinking of something else that's on 420 Day. Never mind.
My parents' anniversary, shout out to them.
Something else to do with trees on 420. I was close. My bad.
And Anna Allem is back with us. How are you?
Hi, Joe. Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I don't generally get to be on a segment with you anymore. Like OG hogs the time. So I'm super happy that you're back here helping us again today.
Happy to be here. Back to my roots.
How long have your parents been married?
Well, around 35 years, I want to say.
You might want to perfect that before you say happy anniversary.
I know. Well, we are doing this year, me and my husband and my parents are going to do a cooking class. And we're going to learn some Thai food cooking. We did one around Christmas time and it was so much fun. So doing that again.
I get excited. OG's talked about cooking classes before, and I always get excited. But I think, like, if we were at a cooking class together, OG, I would just sit back with a glass of wine and just let you do the cooking class for us while I sip and watch you cook.
Yeah, I also sit in the back of the room and supervise from afar, going, oh, you probably should have more salt.
Well, thank goodness, Anna, you're here, because OG and I would starve. is the big takeaway there.
It's a group project. Someone's got to do it.
We've got 3 stackers with fantastic questions today, and I'm super happy that we're going to put you in the spotlight. So we're going to hear from them. We got a couple sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. One of those is The Vault. We're super happy to work with Array and Budget Simple on The Vault. And we've already announced it, and it's coming soon. Our friends at Budget Simple helping us help you track your net worth, track your budget. If you've got a financial coach, they can even log in separately and help look at your numbers. All of that coming to The Vault, stackingbenjamins.com/vault. And the team at Array that works with banks and credit unions built The Vault, and we're super happy to be associated with it. So stackingbenjamins.com/vault. We have a couple more sponsors who help us. We're going to hear from them. And then Anna, OG, and I, we're digging into your questions. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier, because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. All right, guys, let's start with Stacker Haley, who has a question that, I think a lot of our stackers are going to be interested in knowing the answer to this one.
Hi, Joe, OG, and Doug. This is Haley from Oceanside, California. When my daughter was born, I opened a 529 and an UTMA account for her through Fidelity. I recently heard the Trump accounts and was wondering if this would be more beneficial to start contributing to, as it is more like a traditional IRA. Just wondering your thoughts on the pros and cons for contributing to the UTMA versus the Trump account. She was also born in 2024, so will not be getting the additional $1,000. Thanks, and love the show.
Thank you so much for the question, Haley. And there's a lot of people wondering what this new so-called Trump account, how does it work? Anna, do you mind diving in for us on the Trump account? What is this? How does it work?
Yeah, I have been getting a ton of questions about the Trump account and who should use it, what the benefit of it is, because it is a little misleading. I was on the website today just to get a refresher. And essentially, it's super similar to an UTMA account in the way that it's owned by the minor. Like it is their account. They can't pull money out of it. They don't actually get access to it until they're 18, but similar to an UTMA, any of the money that you're putting into it is after tax. So that's where it's different than the traditional IRA. And on the Trump account website, it literally says, with all the tax advantages of a traditional IRA. So I see why that is very confusing. Like it's basically comparing it apples to apples when it's not like that at all. If this was more like an IRA, I would have a different thought on this. So you put money into it after tax. The difference between it and a UTMA is that it's going to grow tax deferred. So every year, if you want to do some sort of trades on it, dividends come out of it, any of that, you're not getting taxed until you're actually taking it out. And then you pay taxes on it. Whereas in UTMA, as you're trading, as you're getting dividends off the investments in it, you're going to pay taxes on it. So that's kind of like the basics of how they're different.
We should also explain, by the way, what an UTMA is, because we've been using that. Haley used that term. Oh, gee, what is an UTMA account?
Basically, it's just a brokerage account or an investment account or a cash account or whatever for a minor. Every state has their own age of majority that the account transitions to the minor, but it stands for Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. That's what UTMA stands for. Effectively, that's what you would open if you're opening, you went to the bank and you said, hey, I've got a 2-year-old. I need to put their christening money in. Like, what do I do? You're opening an UTMA account. It's their money legally. You're in charge of it until they turn 18. At age 18 or 21, depending on the state, it transitions to their account. You can invest in whatever you want. Some of the big differences, and Anna hit on those with the Trump accounts, some of the big differences are the tax deferral. So, if you're investing some sizable money for your kid in a regular brokerage account, the Trump account could be better because of the tax deferral. The downside is it's taxable when you take it out, unless it's used for education or a first home purchase. But the way housing prices are, that could be beneficial down the line. UTMA accounts transition to the kid at 18 or 21. Trump accounts are 18. And there's no requirement to take the money out, just like an UTMA account is. Other slight differences, there's contribution limits in Trump accounts. So the max that you can put in is $5,000, and that can come from any sources. It can be your money. It can be employer matching. If your employer has some sort of weird matching program, the 5,000 is the number. And then what has been highlighted quite a bit is the free $1,000. So if you have a kid that's born, I think it's between 2025 and 2028. So if you're fixing to get busy, then you get an extra free $1,000. So that offset all the costs associated with having a baby. Anna, you've got a 2-year-old, so I guess $1,000 would probably cover everything, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't qualify. 2024 baby.
She's a 24 baby. Oh, shucks, no $1,000 for you.
And that's what Haley said too. The $1,000 isn't in play for her either.
The other thing is there's going to be some limitations on the investment. Trump has been very vocal about like America first and that kind of philosophy. And so from an investing standpoint, think it's going to be large U.S. based company investments, probably S&P, probably Dow index fund type of stuff. I doubt you'll be able to diversify substantially outside of the United States, if at all. So there's some limitations on investing, or at least that's the forecast. They haven't even started these yet. Now you can register, and they allegedly go live 4th of July this year. So you can register, say you're going to do it, and then decide down the line. Very similar, UTMAs versus Trump accounts.
Yeah, I think just a few differences, I think, to highlight again, is that your state is going to determine whether the uniform transfer to minors, or some states call it an UGMA, uniform gift to minors. So UTMA or UGMA, really the same thing, just depends on what state, whether it's 18, 21, some states are 25, that the child gets control. It's interesting to note, by the way, Haley, and for everybody else, why UTMAs came to be in the first place. At least I found it fascinating, which was it used to be that really wealthy people realized that they had a very, very high amount of tax they were paying on these assets sitting around. And they look at their kid, and that they and their tax help went, oh, if we give the money to Junior, then we're not going to pay any money. And then we just take the money back when we need it. This is perfect. So it used to be a big tax loophole that you would hand over your assets to a child and then just spend the money out of their account. So state by state, they began going, okay, here's the deal. You can give money to a kid, but that money has to be used for them. Can't be the basics of food, clothing, shelter. Has to be stuff that's specifically for them. And you can't touch it for other things.
Well, and they added a tax rate for kids. So if you have too much unearned income, then you get taxed at the parent tax rate anyway. So that's another downside of the UTMA account. Again, if you're dumping a bunch of money in there, you could end up having to pay a tax rate that's equal to yours versus your child's tax rate, which is largely close to zero generally. So they both have their purpose. Both of these accounts, or all three of them, have their purpose. Depends on how much money you're saving and what your goal is.
I think for a majority of the people that have been asking about these, a lot of the times I'm just deferring them to an UTMA or just 529s or a brokerage in your name, but you know it's for your child. Unless you do get that seed money, I don't see a huge benefit to this right now.
I think the only place there might be a benefit is if you want to really seed specifically into their retirement. I mean, if I'm putting money away that's going to be really long-term money for retirement, and to your point, I get the $1,000, man, just the fact that this is tax sheltered early on without the need to show any income, right? Because if I'm going to put money in a Roth or I'm going to put money in an IRA for a kid, I have to be able to show income. With a Trump account, I don't have to. And now, if I want to seed that retirement early and give them a nice head start, I mean, the amount of money that you can put in from parents and employers up to $5,000 per year. Let's say that I get that additional $1,000. That's $6,000. And if we use this simple rule of 72, which is you take the interest rate you think you're going to get divided into 72, that tells you how many years it's going to take it to double. So let's say your kid is born in 2025. If we get 8%, we divide that into 72. That means every 9 years. So that means that $6,000, let's just say they make one contribution, $6,000 in 2026. They're a year old now. It's going to double when they're 10. It's going to double when they're 19. It's going to double when they're 28. It's going to double when they're 37. It's going to double when they're 46. It's going to double when they're 55. And again, let's say they want to retire at 65, going to double again at 64. So it's 7 doubles. So that one-time $6,000 contribution becomes $12,000 with that first double, $24,000 with the second, $48,000 with the third, $96,000.
Let's see how good Joe is with on the fly math.
$96,000, $192,000 with the fifth, $384,000 with the sixth. That would be $768,000 just back of the envelope, right?
If you don't touch it.
You could say any number to me and I would believe you right now.
She's like, yep, I agree.
Sounds right.
Now, and that's back of the envelope math, but still, that could be roughly $750,000 toward retirement, which because of inflation is not going to go as far as it does today, but that's still a lot of money. So I think if you're using it for retirement to seed their retirement, Anna, maybe.
But I do think a lot of people, like most of the people I'm working with, they're focused on college. We're making sure that their retirement is good and their kids' college is set. We're not yet on the timeline of let's now set up my kids for retirement. There is a small percentage of the population that could take advantage of it in that scope.
But not a ton. Yeah. All of this is true, but it's not like this is the only place to put the money. Famously, years and years and years ago, I don't know if you remember this, Joe, but Rick Edelman had a kids trust that basically was a deferred annuity, which, used a low cost annuity. Basically is the same idea. Put in 10 grand when your kid was born, put it in a deferred annuity. So you're not going to pay taxes on it. It's tax deferred. Make it as low cost as you can, basically, right? And buy an S&P sub account within the annuity. And by the time they're 60 years old, they got $5 million. Well, yeah, I really wish my parents had 10 grand back in 1977 to put it in the Dow at 600. Like that would be okay by me. you also have to assume that never in the last 48 years would I have touched the money. And there's plenty of times where I was like, things were a little snug and probably could have just been like, I know it's kind of robbing from my future, but I need this down payment, or I got to get a car, or, whatever. So I'm with Anna. This is great on paper, and it looks great when you chart it out and say, oh, but if I put $6,000 a year away from my kid for the next 18 years, they'll be a gazillionaire. It's like, sure. There'll also be a gazillionaire if you put away $6,000 a year for yourself. Don't spend it, and then give it to them when you die, or give it to them through a gift when you're 80 years old and they're 50 and they're trying to get across the finish line for retirement. There's 1,000 ways to listen. At the end of the day, saving $6,000 and letting it sit there for 50 years is a good idea. Do that for a long time. Do that every year. Put $6,000 away. Don't touch it for 50 years. That will be a good rolling. I said annuity. That'll be a good rolling annuity in 50 years of having that $6,000 come due. Like, oh, I got another $700,000 to spend this year. La-di-da. Here we go. But that's the key. The key is to save the $6,000, invest it, and then don't touch it for the next half a century.
Haley, there you go. If, like the majority of people, you really want flexibility, money in the UTMA is going to give you more flexibility. Or, Anna, you said even one that I really like, which is just keep it in your name.
I prefer that for most people because the kids get it at 18 or 21 immediately. And maybe that's not your intention. You want to give it to them at 25. You don't know what they're going to decide when they're 18 or 19.
I know what I would have decided. Mom wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah, but she's doing amazing by saving into the 529 in the UTMA at this point. I think just keep going with that.
It is, Haley. Great that you're even asking the question. So congratulations on some great parenting. And what's cool is as you invest it too, have your child with you as you invest it and to walk them through the investment you're using, because it'll be a cool experience and maybe help track it with them so they get used to the emotions of investing as well. Next up is Stacker Kirsten has a question for us. Kirsten, what's on your mind?
Hey there, Joe and team. My name is Kirsten, and I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm calling with a question about budgeting for a down payment. I recently finalized a divorce, and after doing a rent or own analysis, I'm in the market for a home of my own. My budget is $400,000, and with my income, I would like to put down $160,000 as to not have too high of a mortgage. Also, as much as I would love to house hack, I do have some kiddos with extra needs, so that won't work at this point in life. The money that I will be receiving as a part of our marital assets will be received through my ex's retirement account, so I'm looking at other ways to access funds. I do have a few accounts that I'm thinking about tapping into, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. Currently, I have $155,000 in Roth IRAs. About 70 of that is principal. I have an annuity with $52,000 in it that was formed after I received a settlement from a car accident. Cost basis of that is $28,000. I also have a $53,000 in an HSA and about $30,000 in medical bills that I could submit for reimbursement. I would love not to touch that if I could, but I don't know if that will be possible. I'm a huge fan of Paula's, and I'm grateful to be an afforder and a stacker. I decided to give you all a call on Stacking Benjamins, as I often listen to podcasts on road trips, and my middle child, who's a preteen, really gets a kick out of Doug. It is so cute to hear them giggle while they're also hopefully learning a little something. Thank you so much for your help.
Kirsten, I'm so excited that you listen to the show with your kids. I think that is, I think that's so awesome. Getting them used to financial stuff as fun at an early age, because that's a lesson I never learned. I was like, oh man, we're going to talk finance. Like we were told we had to leave the room. So the fact that you want them there now, the fact that you let them listen to Doug is a whole different thing, OG, that I'm sure we don't really want to get into too much. It is what it is. So she has a few things. Number one, let's talk first, $400,000 house, and she wants to put down $160,000. I like this, OG, because she's thought out how much mortgage she can afford. And I feel like people don't start with payments. They start with the bank telling them how much money they will give you. and the bank, I'm only laughing because the bank's number on what they will give you is never a good place to start.
Yeah, I think when you go to the bank and you're like, I want to buy a house, the first thing they do is, well, here's what you can afford. So does the realtor, by the way. Realtor will want you to have your pre-approval letter, which your pre-approval letter says this is the maximum you can buy. And guess what kind of houses they show you? Pretty much right at that maximum number is what they're...
just a little bit above. In my experience, they're always like, oh, if we push just a little more.
Yeah. Based on the things that Kirsten said in terms of where her money is, right? Retirement plan, Roth money, HSA, a deferred annuity, which sounds like is a payout from a car accident. None of those are liquid easily for a house down payment. I guess the first thing that I would think about is, and I would just ask this question, what is the purpose of putting 160K down? And I'll just assume, like you said, that maybe she did the math and said, well, I want my mortgage payment to be $1,500 a month. Because that 6%, $240,000 mortgage is roughly $1,500 a month. The difference between that and putting 10% down and saying, okay, now the mortgage is going to be $360,000. So same $400,000, but I'm going to put 10% down, so $40K, changes the mortgage payment by about $800 a month. So the payment now is $2,200 a month instead of $1,500. So, $700, $800 a month difference. And that's not zero. That's a pretty sizable amount of cash flow difference. And she didn't give us what her income was or what her inflows are going to be for the year. So it's hard to judge whether or not that makes any difference, air quotes, in the budget. But let's just assume that it does. I think at the end of the day, we have to evaluate this from the perspective of what's more important. Is it more important to have a home and, kind of plant your flag and be okay with lower retirement assets, tax bill if you have that because of distributions or withdrawals from your retirement accounts? Or is it a cash flow thing? Because the other side of the equation, and this is just me playing a little devil's advocate here, if we have to take 160K out of retirement accounts, there's going to be some amount of penalties. There's going to be some amount of taxation. And yeah, we could hack a little bit of this with the HSA, like she said, or use the contributions from your Roth, which would be returned, assuming that you've had it for 5 years. You could contact the lawsuit people and see if you could pull forward your annuity payment and say, hey, instead of getting a check every month, what would be the value of you just giving me this all in one lump sum? However, there's going to be some tax bill associated with that, right? And so my question would be is, can we get the house and lower the tax bill by having the assets pay the delta? Does that make sense? Like, I'm good with $1,500. I don't want to pay $2,200, but I've got assets. Can I make the assets pay the other $700? And instead of having $160K withdrawn from my account on day one, I'm withdrawing $700 a month until my income catches up to it and makes it palatable, or whatever the restriction is in the math. Or you just go, the money's not liquid. This is for retirement, and we just have to wait longer for the house. It depends on the priorities.
I think no matter what, Kirsten, I would listen to episode 1808 because that $30,000 in medical bills that could be reimbursed. On episode 1808, we talked to Imani Vance, who went through this, and she got some help from a nonprofit organization that helps people navigate with hospitals these programs that are set up. So I would listen to 1808 first, because I'm not sure, is that $30,000 money that you'd like the hospital to help you with, or is that to take, because OG, you and I looked at that differently. You thought $30,000 you could submit for reimbursement to take money out of the HSA.
Yeah. And look, this is the honor system. And I'm not telling you to not be straight with your HSA stuff, but I'm saying like there's no reconciliation. When you take money out of your HSA, they just send you a 1099. And then on your tax form, you just go, yeah, it was used for medical stuff. It's not a big process, basically, is what I'm saying. Like if you've paid the bill,
you want to keep your receipts. You want to make sure you paid the bill.
Receipts. You got to keep the records in case you get audited, all that sort of stuff. But it's not like you're attaching 700 pages to your tax return going, see, this is my hospital bill from when I was, you know what I mean? Like that's not a thing.
Yes.
And there's two schools of thought on the HSA too, right? One side is, hey, let's just keep building this up. And one is like, just use it, man. Because of that reason, it's like, do I really want to be keeping track of medical receipts for the next 50 years so that I can prove when I'm 75 that I get to take this $50K out tax-free versus can I use that 30 grand right now? And, like we were talking about with what's the priority? If the priority is the house, and that's a requirement, like I got to do this, then take the 30 grand from the HSA, take 10 grand from your Roth. Now you got 10% down, probably be able to get a mortgage with 10% down, a reasonable rate. And now you've got the assets to offset the delta between the cash flow of the payment. If that's the limiter. If it's just well, I don't want to have a house payment more than $1,500, but I make $275 a year of income. It's like, okay, well, just, how bad do you want the house? And I'm not saying that not having a big down payment is a good idea or bad idea. I'm just saying kind of weird spot, right? We got money, but it's not money you can get to.
Well, and I like your other point too, which is what does this do to this money? What does this do to your chance for a successful retirement? Because I think there's the problem now, need the house. There's the problem in the future, need to someday be able to
money.
be able to retire. And there always is a trade-off, right? And I'm not saying not to take the money now. I'm saying whenever we take the money now, we want to know what that trade-off is. Exactly. What is this costing me in terms of the future? So I can put a strategy together if I decide to take the money, exactly what that's going to cost me later. That $52,000 in the annuity, if it's from a settlement, OG, is there an opportunity to get that money early, or is that going to depend on the contract?
Well, when she said it's an annuity and the cost basis is X, then to me that means that she got a lump sum, got bamboozled into got sold.
I see.
Got hoodwinked.
Yes.
Sorry.
Somebody said you got to put it into an annuity.
Put it into an annuity. How's that? Because it saves money on taxes, but in reality is getting destroyed in fees probably internally. And so she put in the 26K, it's worth 50 or whatever she said. And now if she takes the 50 out, you're going to pay ordinary income on the difference between the 20 and the 50 and
I see.
10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half. So
Kirsten, the pain here is that to get money out of the annuity, it's what's called LIFO, last in, first out, which means any interest it makes, you got to take out first. And that's where the penalty, OG, that you're talking about is going to reside.
Yeah. Now that's different than a structured payout from an accident. So let's say that you're in an accident and the insurance companies and your lawyers and everything say, okay, we're going to pay you $25,000 a year for the next 20 years, right? That's an annuity also, but that's a structured settlement payout. So you're getting the 25K. There are companies that exist in the open market where you can go to and say, hey, instead of getting 25 grand a year for the next 20 years, what will you guys trade me in cash today for the 25 grand a year?
So you sell them that future cash flow for a lump sum.
You just say, hey,
today.
Take this. And they say, well, we'll give you 150 grand right now or whatever and it's just based on market rates and so on and so forth. But I'm curious, Anna, from your perspective, you work a lot more with millennial clients. How does everybody look at house ownership? Because I see a lot of videos of people saying, it's not the American dream that it once was.
Everyone is a little bit different. A lot of the people that we are working with are similar to me, have kids, maybe a dog. They aren't living in New York City. You know what I mean? I don't work with a lot of people who are trying to rent because they're in a super high expense part of the country. So I think a majority of the people I work with, similar age, but they still want to buy a house eventually. They want to be somewhere for a long period of time. They want to have a yard and they want to settle down. I don't necessarily see this as something that's changed. I rarely work with anyone who's yep, I want to rent for the rest of my life, or I want to rent for the next 10 years. The goal ultimately is to buy a house. I see that as well, OG, with conversations on the internet about people moving away from buying. But I personally am not seeing that as much in my clients and for myself and the people I surround myself with, friends, family, that.
It appears too that Kirsten has thought about house hacking, about having somebody share the rent.
Joe, can you break that down? What is house hacking?
Yeah, house hacking is where you bring on renters basically, and you have a roommate or you have some roommates. So for a lot of people, that can defray the cost of either home ownership or even renting if you consider different ways to do it. I know a friend of ours, Craig Kurlop, who will basically rent you anything he owns for money just to bring in extra money. He's very comfortable. He was very comfortable renting out all the bedrooms in his house. He had a 3-bedroom house. He rented out all 3 and he slept on the sofa in his living room. Now, the renters also had to be comfortable with that, which they were, because everybody's just looking for the same thing. But obviously, Kirsten made a point of really can't do that. We got too much going on at our house where that's not going to work for us. But I'm glad that you considered it, Kirsten, because definitely to have that on the table. When we used to have our real estate show for a short time, we had some real estate experts do one of those March Madness style brackets, and house hacking was the number one strategy for people that were new to the quote real estate game to begin bringing in money, because it is not easy. Because imagine sleeping on your sofa every night. Not easy, but it is a simple way to very quickly defray a lot of the costs that are associated with the average house.
Yeah, I think in Kirsten's situation, being a single mom with kids, like there's no way I would ever do that. So
no rando sleeping on the couch or in the.
And even if it's not a rando, it's just someone that you don't know very well, and you're trying to raise your kids and have a good environment for them. Like that would be out of the question for me.
I think, Kirsten, to wrap up what both OG and Anna are talking about, there's basically three pieces of math to do. Number one is, what is this going to cost you long-term when you take money? Number two is taking OG's approach and really asking, are there different ways to use these assets where you don't use them right now, and how do those affect the math? And then number three, I think the math you're already doing, which is solving for cash flow, is important. And maybe you're not able to do it today, but definitely all three of those, I think, put together, looking at it three different ways, will begin to help you make a strategy emerge, which will help you get that house. And by the way, when you get it, because we love Madison. I don't know if you guys have been to Madison. When my book tour went through Madison, it was so fun sitting there out overlooking the lakes, and just beautiful, beautiful place that you live, Kirsten. Thank you, Haley and Kirsten, for the questions. By the way, if you've got questions for Anna and OG and I for our next episode where we dive into your questions, head to stackingbenjamins.com/yell downstairs.
What?
So if you want to yell your question down the basement stairs, it's stackingbenjamins.com/yell downstairs.
Oh my goodness.
And like with Kirsten and Haley, we'll be happy to answer your questions as well. Hey, coming up in the second half, OG and Anna take it over. I get a break while they talk about taxes. But before that, Doug, you got to get back down. Doug's been upstairs doing dishwash duty. Doug, time for your trivia question.
Hey there, Stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today's a big day for milk lovers everywhere because the famous pasteurization process was first created on today's date. Apparently, they were trying to find a way to preserve foods longer, and like any good scientist, they started with alcohol because preserving wine is the key to preserving the very basis of civilization. And in an effort that has aided Benjamin Stackers everywhere, the process was soon applied to beer and milk, the other two food groups. Here's a question. What's the name of the scientist who patented the process of pasteurization? I'll be back right after I go look this up. Don't get me wrong. I totally know. I probably should verify because, the kids depend on me. It's for the kids.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada? Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen. season.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Hey there, stackers. I'm milk lover and guy responsible for making sure Joe's mom's wine and beer supply remains intact until after a certain podcast is recorded. Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. It's impossible to ascertain just how many Benjamins have been made off beer, wine, and milk, but I think just counting my consumption alone, Anheuser-Busch and Borden both owe me a solid attaboy and a, solid pat in the back. Just pat me on the back. Today's question, these three products spoil less often because of a process called pasteurization. But who patented this process? Okay, I looked it up. You're not going to believe this, but a guy named Louis Pasteur created it. Total fluke that a guy named Pasteur is responsible for pasteurization. What are the odds? Gotta tell you, some days our trivia is just so amazing. You can thank me later. And now, two people you'll be thanking for your knowledge of financial basics. Let's throw the show over to OG and Anna.
Yo, yo, yo.
I love it. Just right to it. All right, Anna, week 6. We are going to really dive into this third tier of our investing bucket. So this is the engine bucket, and look at it from a different perspective than I think a lot of people do. I think most people think of this as like, okay, cool. How much small cap should I have? And that's an important question, but not a really important question. Some really important questions are, how are you allocating your money, not just from a time standpoint, which is what we talked about last week, but also from a taxable standpoint. What kind of tax breaks do you get for investing? What kind of tax breaks do you get for leaving it invested? And what kind of tax breaks do you get for distributing it to yourself or to the people that you care about later in life? And how do we manage all that? So today, we're going to talk about taxes with the engine bucket, with your investing bucket. And I want to think about it in terms of a triangle. So on your piece of paper, I don't know if you can hear that or not. Just sounds like wind probably. Draw a triangle on the piece of paper. And at the end of each triangle, like a bucket. So, you've got 3 buckets on 3 triangle pieces. Okay. You want to walk through each one of these?
Sure.
Let's talk about just kind of big picture. What are the headlines of each one of these buckets, so to speak?
Okay, so we got the pre-tax bucket, we have the brokerage bucket, and then we have your tax-free bucket.
Okay, so pre-tax, brokerage, tax-free. Let's just pretend, we use these words, we say, hey, pre-tax, tax-free, whatever. Let's just kind of talk about what each one of those does conceptually, and then obviously the titles of each account that goes in there. So when we think about pre-tax, like what type of investments go in the pre-tax bucket? Or what types of tax structures, I should say, not investments?
Tax structure meaning like your IRA.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you'll see your 401k, your pre-tax 401k. You'll see your traditional IRA sitting in this account.
What does it mean to be pre-tax? Break this down like we're 101 stuff here.
Yeah.
So when I say pre-tax 401k, I'm filling this out for the first time. I don't know what the hell any of this means.
When you save into your 401k, this is typically the default. This is what most 401ks are going to offer you, what you're probably going to default to. You're getting a tax break with every dollar that you put into it. Your income is deducted dollar for dollar. Your taxable income is deducted dollar for what you put into that pre-tax bucket. Grows tax deferred. So still no taxes
We're
paid
not
on
paying
that
any
money.
taxes on it while it sits there and does its thing.
Mm-hmm. When it comes
But-
out,
But
so when you are 60 years old and you're ready to retire, you take any money out of that, that's taxed at ordinary income rate.
okay, so if I make $100,000 and I put $20,000 in my 401k, when I go to file my taxes and I put this all on the pre-tax side, I file my taxes like I made $80K.
Mm-hmm.
So I take 100 minus 20. I'm paying taxes on 80, so I run the whole tax bill as if I made 80. That 20 goes in this bucket. It's invested, it's diversified, it's doing its thing. But now when that 20 grand turns into $200,000 when I retire and I take that 100,000 back out to live on, now I'm putting the 100,000 on my tax return as taxable income. And so that one side's the gimme, this other side is the gotcha. And if you haven't figured it out yet from taxes, just about everything has some level of gimme and gotcha along the way. All right. So that's pre-tax. How about brokerage? What's the tax benefits of your brokerage account? So this is non-retirement, I guess, just regular investing.
Yeah, this is money that's post-tax. So nothing is changing on your tax return.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're putting money in here. It is sitting every time you sell something, every time you get any sort of dividends, interest off of the investments in this account, you're getting taxed on that. And then anytime you sell assets from this and you use it for, buying a house, whatever it is, retirement, any of that, you're then paying capital gains tax on the growth of it, which is typically lower than your regular ordinary income tax rate.
Right on. So I have a little bit of control on that side of the equation in terms of when I sell stuff and when I am going to realize that tax. And then the third bucket is tax-free. That sounds pretty awesome. I'll take tax-free income.
Yeah, there's still a catch with it. You still pay taxes on the front end. So again, tax return is not changing. There's no tax deduction, anything like that. Taxable income is still the same. But when you put it in, it grows tax-free, comes out tax-free, and there's no required minimum distribution from it. And it can sit in that account for as long as you want.
Forever. What is for everybody just kind of thinking about this at home, there's got to be like a correct percentage. So is it 40, 40, 20, 20, 30, 50? Like what is the right percentage for each one of these buckets? And how do I evaluate this?
So the exact percentage that you want into every single bucket, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wow, you really do have an answer. Good. This is different.
No, I mean, everyone's going to look a little bit different. Ideally, you'd want it balanced between the three. That would be the best situation. You get into retirement, you have a little bit in every single bucket. But everyone's different. If you're retiring early, we kind of need a little bit more in that brokerage to bridge the gap between retirement and 59 and a half, when you can actually access your pre-tax and Roth money. And it also depends on where's cash flow at? Do you need that tax break today? If in order for you to save today, do you need to put it into pre-tax? Because I'd rather that than no savings at all. So it's really going to be a little bit nuanced towards your situation, but the target would be equal between three buckets.
You want some flexibility. It's funny. I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago and they were like, I put all my money in the pre-tax 401k. I read online I should do it as a Roth, so I'm going to change it. And I said, well, you max out your 401k, that's 24K. Your spouse maxes out their 401k, that's 24K. So your 50K, right, of tax deferral, you recognize this is a $20,000 tax swing, right? Like you're going to owe 20 grand more on your taxes next year if you don't adjust it.
And not to mention, does this take you out of certain deductions or credits? There's other downhill effects that this could cause too.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the flexibility here. You were mentioning capital gains taxes and dividends, and they're at a different rate and all that sort of stuff. The idea behind all of this is you want to have flexibility in your distribution plan. So we've got the three different buckets or three different places for your money in terms of time frame of your goals. But this also matters in the time frame of your goals as it relates to the tax strategy. You mentioned if I want to retire at 52, you better have some liquidity. You better have some brokerage money, because it's kind of a pain. You can do it, but it's kind of a pain to get money out of pre-tax accounts. And even after you get into retirement, it affects your Social Security taxes. It affects your Medicare premiums. And just having the flexibility to be able to review each one of those on an annual basis and say, this is what's going on in my life, I think is super important. I mentioned make a little triangle fill up your buckets, put a percentage and just look at it. Draw your buckets to scale. That's what I always tell people to do. Like, look at this and say, like, where am I heavy in one area and not in the other? Like, can I afford to make some allocation changes from a tax standpoint? That's a good way to just visualize where your distribution is as it relates to your tax assets. If you want to score yourself on all this, we created a scorecard. You go to stackingbenjamins.com/scorecard. Taxes and investments and cash flow and stuff takes 3 or 4 minutes. You get your score back and some commentary about things that you can do to improve that. Number one. Number two, we have another weekish or so if you want to have a vote on what we cover in the next season. Send me an email, og@stackingbenjamins.com, with your list or one thing or whatever you want us to cover, and we will try to fit it into the curriculum, as I learned last week was the word that I was looking for. So stackingbenjamins.com/scorecard. Email address, og@stackingbenjamins.com, if you want some opinion about next season. Okay. A little long on taxes, but taxes are important. They suck, but we got to.
They are. We didn't even scratch the surface either.
I know we didn't, did we?
Hi, I'm Derek, and when I'm not working on the hook for Joe's mom's next greatest rap album, I'm stacking Benjamins, baby.
Thank you so much, Anna and OG. Nice job on the tax front. Let's talk about the back porch, because this thing everybody's talking about, your segment, everybody wants a name. And we had a couple people that wrote in about ideas for a name.
Let's hear them.
First one comes from JF. Jay says, hey, got an idea if you haven't given that segment a name yet. Orange Banana.
Is OG orange?
He said, or something like that, since OG plus Anna is similar. So he wants to combine OG with Anna. And he said, you could also take the Chicken Banana Kids song.
I love the Chicken Banana Kids song.
And you could dub in Orange for an intro tune. Say hi to Doug for me. We will do that, Jay.
We'll put it on the list. It's at the bottom of the list, but it's on.
I will personally sing the song if we go in that direction.
Oh,
then we're in.
You don't want to hear me singing, but I'll do it.
For our next team retreat, we are karaokeing for sure.
Please.
She's laid down the gauntlet. Second, Patrick had some suggestions as well. Patrick says he has basic segment name ideas. So Stacking Basics is his first one.
I like that.
Benjamin's Basics. He's got like 12 of them. So we've got quite a few. Stacking Benjamins, the Basics. You could tell Patrick has some time on his hands, I think, to think about this. The Basics of Stacking. SB Basics, Basic Stacking, Stacking 101. Keep it basic, Ben, with an exclamation point at the end. Mom's Basement Basics or Basement Basics.
I like them all.
You know the thing about being a basic B word?
Uh-huh. That's true.
We could do that. We're a bunch of basic Bs.
Basic Bens?
Basic Bens. Yes, that's the B word that I'm talking about. Patrick says, if it's not obvious, I'm encouraging simplicity.
I like it, Patrick. Good job.
Very, very to the point. I think my favorite is still the first one, going back to OG's military background. I like the boot camp idea.
Yeah.
What was it?
Basic training.
It's too Army.
OG still starts shaking.
I've very publicly said if I could go back as an adult, I would 100% spend my summer at MCRD in San Diego. Like, you eat, you sleep, you work out. Like, that's basically the entire day. You get to shoot guns. The yelling wouldn't bother me. I'm like twice as old as anybody there.
Like, yell at me louder, dude.
I wouldn't keep up there, be like, you can't do a single pull-up. Like, dude, I'm almost 50. I'm trying. Like, my shoulder doesn't work the same way it used to. I'm doing these one-handed. You know.
You're telling your drill sergeant all your medical issues. As if they will care.
Where's the biofreeze? Then I maybe can get one.
So good. Thanks for all those names. If you got more, send them to me, joe@stackingbenjamins.com. Big thanks to Kirsten and Haley for helping us make a great show today. Thanks to the two of you, Anna and OG, for a great segment. And remember to go to our YouTube page where we are turning all of the OG and Anna segments into a fantastic video series, which also includes a lot of graphics that helps you kind of get where they're going. So head over and subscribe to our YouTube page so that you can dive more into that segment a second time, which I think is nice. You know, if I'm trying to learn something, I will find an author who's really good at it, and I'll listen to the book as I go on a walk so I get the high concepts, and then I will get the book and then I'll mark it up the second time, and the video series helps you do that. So youtube.com/stackingbenjamins gets you there. All right, Doug, you've got it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
So, what should we have learned today? First, take some advice from the team. Whether it's an index fund, a Trump account, or an UTMA, fit the type of account you need to the end goal, and you're less likely to end up regretting it later. Great questions today, everybody. Second, home down payment. Well, this can be tricky. By setting the right amount of money aside and using the right mortgage, you can control both your cash flow and risk less to bank interest rates. But the big lesson, don't even try to ask Joe's mom if her wine is pasteurized. She'll just demand another glass to make sure it's still good. We're on to you, Ma. What's that? Now, what? She said she isn't sure if the wine is good. And yeah, all right. I need to fetch her yet another glass. All right, I'll be right there. Thanks to you for carrying the load today with your excellent questions, Stackers. Have a question for Anna, OG, Joe, and especially me. How about this guy? I'm right here. Nobody ever asks me any questions. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/yell downstairs to ask your question for our next Q&A episode. This show is the property of SB Podcast, LLC, copyright 2026, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. And oh yeah, before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
Joe, I'm dipping my toe back into Instagram. I'm trying not to spend a bunch of time on it, but I'm chronicling a little bit of my training, a little bit of some family stuff that's going on. And on occasion, you kind of go down the rabbit hole. You know, just the scrolling. Apparently it doesn't end. I found that out. But a lot of Instagram stuff and YouTube and stuff like that, it's the algorithm of what you are searching, they feed you more of, right? So I obviously just training and health and fitness and stuff like that. And I came across this bit about running, and I thought this would be very applicable to you, Joe, because I know, you are an athlete, have always been your entire life. I know you had a little struggle there with the Disney thing, and you're on the mend and looking up. So here's a little bit about running and training that I think is kind of right up your alley.
Off topic, if you've ever bragged about doing a half marathon, you can shut the up forever. When did that even become a thing? A half marathon? Ooh. I just finished reading half a book. Yeah, big thick one. Got to the middle, set it down. I'll never look at it again. I can bench press around 450 pounds 1/2 time. Just the down part. The point is, until you yourself and your nipples are bleeding at mile 26, you've accomplished nothing and no one wants to hear about it.
Okay, I got it. Message received.
Don't let him bully you, Joe. You're doing amazing.